Disclaimer. Performing your own or another's in-person or distance potentiation implies your tacit acknowledgement that you have read, understood, and agreed to the terms contained in the potentiation consent form found in Appendix B. The reader understands that the author of Potentiate Your DNA and the developers of the Regenetics Method are not engaged herein in making medical claims or providing advice, recommendations, protocols, techniques, or services designed to diagnose, prevent, or treat illness of any kind. Where the term medicine is used in relation to potentiation or regenetics, as in Era 3 medicine, it is intended merely philosophically, not as implying the actual practice of medicine on the part of the author or developers. The author and developers offer the information in Potentiate Your DNA, and the reader accepts it, with the understanding that people act on it at their own risk, and with full knowledge that they should consult with medical professionals for any medical assistance they need. The author and developers shall have neither liability nor responsibility to any person or entity, with respect to any loss, damage, or injury caused, or alleged to be caused, directly or indirectly, by the information provided in this book. To my mother, with love, gratitude, and mostly joy. Important note. All DNA activations in the Regenetics Method employ one or more notes from the ancient solfeggio scale. Potentiation Electromagnetic Repatterning, the focus of this book, uses the note Mi, a frequency, 528 Hz, that has been employed by pioneering researchers to repair genetic defects. Although some readers will be attracted solely to the leading-edge theoretical and scientific material presented herein, those desirous to potentiate themselves will need the Mi tuning fork. You can order either the single Mi tuning fork or the 6-fork original solfeggio scale from the Phoenix Center for Regenetics at www.phoenixregenetics.org or www.potentiation.net. Our competitively priced tuning forks are of the very highest quality. If you think that at some point you might pursue facilitator certification in subsequent levels of the Regenetics Method, which progressively introduce the full solfeggio, or if you simply desire to experiment with this extraordinary scale, it may be worth considering the whole set of 6 tuning forks. Virtually anyone who commits to learning the potentiation technique can perform this work effectively for him or herself, as well as for others. If for any reason you are uncomfortable performing your own potentiation, but still wish to experience this life-changing DNA activation, there are certified Regenetics Method facilitators throughout the world who would be happy to do it for you, remotely or in person. A complete and regularly updated list of certified facilitators grouped by country is available at www.phoenixregenetics.org and www.potentiation.net. Finally, while Potentiate Your DNA is designed for individuals with no knowledge of the Regenetics Method, those with prior experience of potentiation or other Regenetics activations stand to benefit greatly from reading this book. The heart of the discipline of the personality is threefold. 1. Know yourself. 2. Accept yourself. 3. Become the creator. The Law of One. Introduction. Illness as a teacher. It has been said by many people in many ways that illness, whether physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, can be a valuable teacher. In my case, this observation proved absolutely true. My nearly decade-long chronic autoimmune illness was a stern and sobering mentor, matriculating me through a veritable shamanic initiation of near-death and rebirth, from which I emerged both a wiser and humbler man. Wiser, in that the crash course I enrolled in during my self-healing tutorial that began in earnest in 2002, involving liberal doses of new science and metaphysics, led to such a novel understanding of human nature that during this terrifying and exhilarating period when I thought I was dying, I often felt like a different person each morning when I awoke. Humbler, in that, having been athletic to the point of cockiness my whole life, as well as something of a know-it-all in my chosen field of study, literature, I was reminded consistently of how dead wrong I had been about so many things. Specifically, I was forced to admit how little I actually knew about reality and the way the universe is only material as an afterthought, being fundamentally structured on and operating through consciousness. Thus, in all ways, as I elaborate in Book 1 on the Regenetics Method, my initiatory education through and beyond disease was one of conscious healing. Today, nearly 5 years after the initial publication of that best-selling book that has been translated into multiple languages, having personally facilitated the Regenetics Method for thousands of clients worldwide and taught it to many students, it is time to share the first phase of this uniquely empowering work, Potentiation, with you. May learning, performing, and perhaps offering potentiation to your family, friends, and even pets be as filled with daily miracles, as was my own healing and transformational experience of this powerful energetic activation. What is potentiation? Potentiation electromagnetic repatterning is the first of 4 integrated DNA activations, performed on a specific minimum timeline explained in Part 3, that make up the Regenetics Method. Additional information on the second, third, and fourth phases of this work also is provided in Part 3. As detailed hereafter, potentiation employs specific sound and light codes produced vocally and mentally to stimulate a self-healing and transformational potential in DNA. The potentiation session initiates a progressive repatterning designed to reset your bioenergy fields, which serve as the blueprint for your body-mind-spirit, and as such, when distorted by trauma or toxicity, or both, can induce dysfunctions of various kinds. By resetting the bioenergy blueprint, potentiation facilitates an integrated, manageable release of often deeply held traumas and toxins, while establishing a higher harmonic resonance with life-enhancing, torsion energy. Just as crucially, potentiation also transforms the bioenergetic disruption known as the fragmentary body through a process called sealing. Central to true healing or wholing, sealing the fragmentary body enhances one's sense of unity consciousness and by itself can lead to tangible and lasting improvement. The critically important notion of the fragmentary body is discussed at various points throughout this text. Initiated by a single 30-minute session which can be performed in person but often is done remotely as explained, the entire potentiation process takes just over 9 months, 42 weeks, or a gestation cycle, to unfold. To the best of my knowledge, such a remarkable rebirth, set in motion by one short session that requires neither repeating nor re-energizing, is unique in the world of energy healing. In addition, this process of recalibration charts a highly specific pattern through the bioenergy blueprint. We will explore the nature and experience of this profound biospiritual metamorphosis in much greater detail as we go along. Benefits of potentiation. Since my partner Lee and I first began to offer potentiation to clients back in 2003, we have received reports of a variety of benefits spanning the body-mind-spirit continuum. Some of these benefits have been subtle, while others have been quite dramatic. The most common reported benefits include allergy elimination, enhanced energy, parasite cleansing, pain relief, physical strengthening, improved respiration, better digestion, sharper thinking, deeper sleep, straighter posture, healthier urination, regular stools, stronger immunity, clearer skin, thicker hair, fewer migraines, clearer boundaries, healthier relationships, increased serendipity, heightened manifestation, greater abundance. I share some of my own remarkable benefits from potentiation toward the end of Part 1. Also, a selection of categorized testimonials from clients who have experienced potentiation concludes Part 2. What this book is and is not. Divided into 3 sections, this book is designed to assist you step by step in understanding Part 1, performing Part 2, and integrating Part 3, an apparently simple but potentially reality-altering DNA activation for yourself and maybe others. Throughout, I expand on the perhaps foreign for some concept of DNA activation. I trust you will find this material, if not essential to experiencing and benefiting from potentiation, content-rich, and thought-provoking. I wish to clarify from the outset that this is not a book primarily concerned with science. You do not have to be a scientist or student of science to grasp and implement the self-empowering tools I have to share. Rather, Potentiate Your DNA is about a singularly potent type of energy healing, one that I contend operates simultaneously at the genetic and energetic levels. Thus my regular use of the term energetic to describe many aspects of Regenetics. In Part 1, I provide a clear and concise conceptual framework for how DNA activation functions. But as they say, the proof is in the pudding. We can discuss potentiation forever, but the only meaningful way to prove that potentiation works is to experience it yourself. Insisting on wrapping your left brain around every detail is, in the final analysis, like anything over-intellectualized, counterproductive. If you are the type of person who feels intimidated by the mere mention of DNA, know this: I used to be too. In the interest of accessibility, I have stripped the intellectual material contained herein down to the bare bones, while making sure to include enough personal narrative to move the story along. I recommend that you get all you can out of Part 1, then put it behind you as you focus on mastering your potentiation technique in Part 2, before turning your attention to integrating and maximizing the energies of potentiation with the help of Part 3. This is also not a book about music or musicology. You do not have to be a musician or have studied music to master potentiation. While you will be learning a form of sound healing, you do not have to be able to read music or be blessed with perfect pitch to perform and benefit from this work. If you are a sound healer or have prior experience with sound healing, I encourage you to release any preconceptions as to what potentiation should sound like, while engaging this deceptively simple work with an ongoing attitude of openness and experimentation. In addition, this is not a book that advocates a predetermined lifestyle change. You do not need to devote any more time to this work than the amount it takes to read this material thoroughly and thoughtfully, and potentiate yourself. Nor do you need to meditate regularly, repeat mantras, use affirmations, do yoga, or adopt a special diet to heal and transform your life with potentiation. You do not even have to believe in this kind of stuff for it to unfold in extraordinary ways. On the other hand, you do need to 1. Be open to your own healing. 2. Listen to your heart's wisdom, and 3. Allow your life to transform naturally as your everyday existence becomes more and more a living meditation. This process typically occurs as potentiators find themselves increasingly present in the now and releasing those things which do not contribute to the embodiment and manifestation of their potential. Also, for those concerned with such things, this is not a book about 2012, the Mayan calendar, or related topics. I write in detail on these subjects in Conscious Healing, where I propose that humanity is undergoing a massive and positive shift in consciousness, a metamorphosis into a more enlightened way of being that can be promoted by potentiation and the Regenetics Method. But potentiation's ability to activate you to higher levels of consciousness and well-being really has nothing to do with whether anything out of the ordinary happens around the end of 2012, whether you suddenly wake up to find yourself in a completely new reality, or wake up in your old bed. As many recipients of potentiation have attested, for those open to healing and transformation without drugs or therapies, DNA activation truly is strong medicine. Indeed, because they can be so effective in addressing a range of issues that traditional materialistic approaches cannot begin to unravel, energetic modalities, especially those focused on the revolutionary potential of consciousness, are fast becoming the medicine of the future in the here and now. Finally, to be perfectly clear, you do not have to have read Book 1 on the Regenetics Method to potentiate yourself, although you may find it helpful to read it before, during, or after your potentiation process. What is conscious healing? Here, I am calling attention to the concept, not the book. One of the foundational ideas behind potentiation and the Regenetics Method can be summarized. Consciousness not only is primary to matter, It also gives rise to and modifies matter, including human genetics and physiology, through a process that is energetic in nature. The hyperdimensional, generative energy to which I refer, dubbed torsion energy in literally thousands of scientific studies conducted mainly in Russia, can be understood as universal creative consciousness. The two principal manifestations of this consciousness, both of which are capable of operating instantaneously at a distance, or non-locally, are sound and light, figures 1 and 4. These closely related types of torsion energy are employed synergistically in all Regenetics activations. Whether you realize it or not, you have heard of torsion energy before. When the book of John opens with the statement, "In the beginning was the word referenced is torsion energy. In this instance, the Creator employs the word, which is pure torsion energy in the form of sound waves, to create and subsequently develop the light-based material world, human biology included. The biblical story of Genesis, read genetic origin, according to John, which finds parallels in virtually all religions and wisdom traditions throughout the world, specifies that 1. The universe literally was spoken into being, and 2. Language, embodied in sound and light, not only affects the genesis of life. The related new sciences of genetic linguistics and wave genetics have established beyond any reasonable doubt that universal creative consciousness, or torsion energy, gives rise to and evolves DNA through an inherently linguistic interface. This revolutionary research, which proves that the basic storyline of creation in the Bible and many other ancient cosmologies is far more than myth, further implies that we ourselves can employ linguistically energized torsion consciousness to activate DNA and promote healing and transformation. In the case of potentiation, as explained in Part 1 and taught in Part 2, this energetic activation is prompted by specific combinations of vowel-based words. To your potential. I will conclude this brief introduction by returning to you, the reader, because potentiate your DNA is nothing if not about teaching you to promote your own conscious healing and personal evolution. We can talk theory ad infinitum, but this book is really about practice, the practice of activating your potential to become and live your true and authentic self. On this subject, allow me to offer a bit of friendly advice from one who has walked this path and assisted many others in walking it. Read this book thoroughly, enjoying the story of the development of potentiation in Part 1, but paying particular attention to Part 2 so that you perform your potentiation correctly, and Part 3 so that you get the most out of this work. Then, go live your passions with all the joy, gratitude, laughter, and love you can muster. This is not merely superficial advice, and appearances notwithstanding, does not have its roots in New Age philosophy, the law of attraction, the power of now, or anything of the sort. Instead, this advice is based on scientific experiments by cell biologist Glenn Ryan, proving that positive emotions benefit DNA, making DNA stronger, healthier, and it stands to reason, more available to activation through linguistically expressed consciousness. On the other hand, feelings such as fear and anger can do considerable harm to DNA so that it is less available for activation through consciousness. Let me emphasize that I am far from judging so-called negative emotions, as we all experience them from time to time. It does nobody, least of all ourselves, any good pointing the proverbial finger at the mirror during our moments of inadequacy, and may even do us considerable harm. The best we can do when we inevitably slip up is to follow the time-honored wisdom of forgive and forget, allowing ourselves to re-engage life-affirming attitudes that, based on hard science, genetically promote our healing and the realization of our innate potential. To yours, Saul Luckman. July 2010. Chapter 11. Selected Testimonials. Before shifting our focus to the various tools that can be implemented to maximize conscious personal mastery through potentiation and other Regenetics activations, it seems appropriate to offer the reader a number of different perspectives on how this work can unfold. In addition to revealing an impressive range of potential benefits spanning the body-mind-spirit spectrum, the following testimonials also demonstrate that the experience of potentiation is highly individualized. Just as no two individuals are exactly alike, no two potentiations are identical. Sometimes improvement occurs early in the process, while other times breakthroughs happen toward the middle or at the end. To be clear, the established time frame for how torsion energy cycles through the bioenergy blueprint following potentiation is relatively fixed at 42 weeks, as explained and charted in Chapter 13, Figure 1.8. Of particular interest to individuals wishing to perform potentiation for family and friends living far away is that most of the testimonials included in this chapter come from clients of distance potentiation. Note that under no circumstances are these testimonials intended to make medical claims with regard to potentiation or the Regenetics Method. Please see the disclaimer near the beginning of this book. More testimonials relative to potentiation and other phases of the Regenetics Method are provided at www.phoenixregenetics.org and www.potentiation.net. Addiction and potentiation. Before potentiation, I felt very weak and was experiencing strange headaches and higher than normal blood pressure. The day before my potentiation session, I quit smoking cold turkey and have not had a puff since. In the past 30 years, I've tried to quit smoking probably at least 20 times using all sorts of smoking cessation therapies such as acupuncture, hypnosis, etc., which helped during the initial withdrawal period but did nothing to overcome the lethargy and inertia that always followed. This is the first time I quit smoking without having the desire to break down and cheat once. Also, I didn't feel as lethargic as I normally do and feel my strength increasing on a daily basis. I'm not saying it was easy, but something was different this time. I feel as though I was ridding my body of all sorts of toxins, not only the nicotine. I'm 100% confident that I've kicked the habit for good. And I attribute my success to potentiation. J.C., Woodstock, Illinois. Allergies and brain fog disappearing. I have completed my 9 months for the potentiation process, and boy am I happy. I now have a life where before I had only restrictions. I can drive my car without wearing a mask. I can shovel shavings for my horse's stall without feeling dizzy and sick. I can stay on the computer 6 to 8 hours a day, instead of less than 1 hour. I have a great boyfriend. I am well enough to work and earn a good living, something I've waited 15 years for. The person I was before potentiation was so physically damaged by heavy metal and other toxicity, it was just a matter of time before a nasty reaction would have sent me out with heart failure. It's difficult to describe in words, but I feel new and renewed, as if the best part of me expanded and everything else, including my brain fog, just disappeared. My heartfelt thanks. DM, Orcas Island, Washington. Better personal and professional relationships. As soon as I discovered the Regenetics Method and read about the fragmentary body, the missing piece for me, I contacted the developers and booked my initial session. By supporting me through the release of 2 limiting relationships and the upgrading of several more to healthier states, potentiation helped me realize something I'd been unable to achieve before in all my spiritual and therapeutic pursuits: a sealed energy field with no more ongoing energy loss and no more vulnerability to compromising situations and relationships. In my estimation, no amount of therapy or mental processing could have achieved comparable results. I actually felt the sealing of my energy field, and to this day, have no more problems navigating challenging circumstances, personal or professional. Regenetics has tremendously improved my work as a therapist as well as my personal relationships, old and new. As a fringe benefit, I'm often told I look 10 years younger. Certainly, I feel younger, excited to be alive again, with consistently more joy. AW, London, United Kingdom. Closer to realizing my intentions. While I have not fully gotten over all of my environmental allergies, I was pretty bad and have much less attachment to them now. Rare is the day now that I wake up not breathing through my nose. Lately, I eat pretty normally, for me that is, and have virtually gotten over sugar cravings. I have a better understanding of my purpose, and more energy to carry it out. I had the most Kundalini movement and most intense experience of awareness of everything around me from Potentiation, but I think that was because it initiated the most change in my case. I still have some back pain, but it is a lot better, and it does not have the emotional impact it used to. A big step has been taken toward realizing my intention for the activations. BW, Goshen, Ohio. Consciousness Overhaul. I can't believe it's been 9 months already since Potentiation. There have been a lot of changes in my life, internally and externally. I'm starting a new career, and my health's never been better. But most importantly, my consciousness has gone through quite an overhaul. Life and the universe look totally different now, and I enjoy much more freedom and gratitude than I ever imagined before. I seem to encounter friends, teachers, and inspirational materials on a constant basis. There is a strong sense that finally everything is coming together. Thank you so very much for the service you provide. LB, Little Rock, Arkansas. Emotional release. Thank you so much for last week's Potentiation session. I've been involved with energy work for a long time and have never experienced the kind of shift that has happened since connecting with you. I've already released a lot of emotional garbage. The amazing thing is that even though it was intense, I felt supported. Physically, in fact, I feel better than I have in years. Since the onset of my chronic environmental illness many years ago, any strong emotion would rattle my nervous system and make my allergies worse. Not now. I feel good. The emotional stuff has cleared. I never really expected to feel completely well again, and it's a little mind-boggling thinking about what I'm going to do with my life as a fully functioning person. SP, Orcas Island, Washington. Energy, health, and wealth. Unbelievable blessings have happened in my life since I began the Regenetics Method. I now have abundant energy, health, and wealth. The Regenetics activations have supported my spiritual growth and evolution in a relatively easy way. My body is no longer a burden, but more energized than ever. My energy sustains over time in a new way. I realize that I'm a creative being with increasing amounts of blessing, joy, and delight in my life. My finances have improved dramatically, as have my relationships. I find myself being able to help people as never before, with access to the right words at the right times, while no longer being caught by my emotions as before. Finally, amazing coincidences have become increasingly evident and common in my daily existence. AV, Pretoria, South Africa. Fewer hot flashes and improvement with arthritis. Since initiating the potentiation process 4 months ago, I've experienced several rather profound changes. My hot flashes have subsided, which is a real relief and allows me to sleep better at night. Most of the arthritis in my hands and knees has cleared up, reducing my dependence on glucosamine. I've gone through some detoxification and can sense more energy coming in through my chakras. PD, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Fewer food cravings, less anxiety, and more self-love. Since potentiation, I generally have a sense of greater well-being, stronger workouts, less sugar and food cravings. I seem to be taking better care of myself, extending myself a certain tenderness, suffering less anxiety. It feels good. CE, Asheville, North Carolina. Gradual release of food allergies. My experience of potentiation was both subtle and powerful. During the early phase, the first few months, I felt an unusual sense of happiness and peace, and an overall subtle shift inside. Then, as the process unfolded, I realized my food allergies had completely disappeared. I'd tried other treatments with limited success, but with potentiation, I gradually noticed I could enjoy food that would have normally caused headaches and spaciness. Very remarkable. EL, Asheville, North Carolina. Healthier relationships in conscious personal mastery. I am so grateful for potentiation. It has really helped me turn the corner on emotional reactivity in important relationships. In the midst of conflict, I am able to both understand the other person and have on-the-spot clarity about my feelings and the needs of the situation, and communicate it with respect for myself and the other person. It has transformed conflict around here, with lovely effects that have radiated into my extended family, my daughter, my son, and my mother. J.S., Colorado Springs, Colorado. Healing childhood trauma. My personal experience of potentiation was powerful, initiating a great deal of emotional as well as physical pain release, especially in my head, which as a massage therapist I found most interesting. As a child I had a lot of head injuries, and also contracted meningitis at 2.5. Throughout my adult life, in therapy and elsewhere, I'd attempted to get to the core of the abandonment issues around my traumatic experience of meningitis, when I was quarantined away from my parents for days, but on some level one knew my cells were hanging on to the memory. The very day of the potentiation process when I entered the seventh field, which in my electromagnetic group regulates the musculoskeletal system as well as many emotions associated with abandonment, I was massaging a client. Halfway through I started sobbing and couldn't stop. I felt exactly the same sensation I felt during my meningitis episode, that of being catapulted into space, disconnected from everybody and everything, floating in a dark tunnel. Until potentiation, it wasn't possible to feel, at a body level, the full emotional impact of this experience. But now I was feeling it. Somehow I finished the massage and called 2 friends to be with me as I underwent the most extraordinary release over 24 hours, during which I felt my cells were literally being cleansed biochemically of the hormonal residue of my childhood trauma. Within 2 days my lifelong fear of abandonment was merely a memory. SL, London, United Kingdom. Instant improvement with sensitivities. Thank you so much for my potentiation session yesterday. I definitely connected with you, and it felt very powerful. While meditating during the session, I experienced tingling feelings which continue at times today, waves of energy moving through me, a very warm and expansive feeling in my chest-heart chakra area, and definite feelings of joy and an uplifted sense. I also started feeling shifts prior to the session after reading Conscious Healing, which is fascinating and inspiring. So much of it resonates with me. This may sound strange, but it feels like I'm absorbing essential nutrients as I take in your words. It is amazing work that you're facilitating. I already feel different, lighter, more clear-headed, energetic, and hopeful. I've had carb hangovers whenever I had even a little bit of carbs or sugars, and have thus had to totally avoid them for years, severely limiting my ability to eat out, socialize, travel. I do a lot of self-muscle testing, and while I know it's early in my potentiation, I'm amazed that I already test strong to healthy, organic carbs and even straight sugar. Wow! As well, chemical sensitivities have dominated my life for 18 years. I'm already feeling shifts here as well, and will keep you posted on my healing. Eliminating MCS and food intolerances will create a quantum leap of improvement in all areas of my life. Thank you again. I will spread the word to all those who can hear it. J.S. Cumming, Georgia. Less depression with structural shifts. What do I feel is different since last week's potentiation? There will be a big layoff soon where I work, but I feel much lighter, calmer, and more positive. A lot of my depression is gone. Also, for the last couple years I've felt the left side of my body tightening, and I've constantly had the urge to stretch it. One doctor said I had iliotibial syndrome and gave me stretches to do. A massage therapist instructor said I had a fascia problem. Being treated by them helped very little. I underwent other unusual therapies, also with little results. But now I've had a major shift and tremendous release on my left side, especially in the left hip and leg. I really cannot believe it. My hip is so loose, lighter feeling, and rounded out. I do massage therapy and for years have worked on myself. But now there is no need to work on these areas. C.H. Streamwood, Illinois. Less insomnia and TMJ. At the time of my potentiation 7 months ago, I was depressed and suicidal due to my inability to sleep. I'd often go whole nights and only get an hour of sleep. I still struggle somewhat with insomnia, but I no longer or rarely have the kind of nights I used to have before potentiation. I've also suffered for years from TMJ, but in spite of braces and a mouthful of metal, I've improved in this area as well. I still have many challenges, but I now generally believe life is worth living, and I even have feelings of happiness and joy. I also had a serious case of restless leg syndrome when I began this process. I still have it at times, but lately it has been a lot less. I know this doesn't sound like much, but trust me, it's a big deal. I think of all the many things I've tried, Potentiation has probably been the best investment in my overall health and has helped me the most. KC, Atlanta, Georgia. Math phobia gone. A subtle but very real thing occurred just 3 weeks after Potentiation. I'd suffered a math phobia for most of my life, ever since having my head thrown at a blackboard for getting a math problem wrong in grade school. Prior to that, I was a math whiz. So severe was the trauma that I cringed at anything that had to do with numbers. Years later, after Potentiation, it felt like tiny tiles were releasing from my brain, and suddenly the calculator became my friend, as I looked forward to numbers and calculations, and even to doing the financials in clients' business plans that I'd formerly farmed out to accountants. This was so exciting and freeing. Over time, my allergies and asthma also faded into a distant memory. The suffering was simply gone, and more vibrant health was becoming mine. As I went on to articulation and then elucidation, I experienced greater depths of living and loving. The separation I'd always felt changed to a oneness with everything and everyone. New possibilities and fresh insights arose. My entire being changed to a lightness I'd never felt before. As an interfaith minister, counselor, and coach, I've learned and shared many modalities to effect changes in clients. Some changes stuck longer than others, but none ever deeply and profoundly changed the client at the core level, and lasted like the transformations I've personally experienced through Regenetics DNA activations. This one modality directly and permanently promotes transformation at the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. I am forever grateful I found Regenetics. MS Wood Ridge, New Jersey. Mental clarity and structural benefits. I must say that since my potentiation over 5 months ago, I've become extremely clear and focused in a way that I haven't been before. Very frequently my body feels so light and erect, I feel as though I'm pure light in movement, can't quite describe it in adequate words. I just know that I wouldn't trade how I experience the world within for anything. As part of my experience, I've literally felt torsion shifts, almost as though a chiropractor is working on me. Thank you. GP, Toronto, Canada. No more chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia. It's now 18 months after we first experienced potentiation, and I wanted to write about this first activation because in some ways it is the most important to me. My husband had been horribly sick with chronic fatigue, CFS, and fibromyalgia for nearly 3 years. We had tried countless therapies and moved to Hawaii from New York City in hopes that his 32-year-old body would recover. Every day was just pain for him. He couldn't think, had bad anxiety, heart palpitations, constant nausea, and couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours at night. We signed up for Potentiation. He felt visibly improved in the days right after. I was so happy. A week after Potentiation, he was at his computer reading and interested in work again. He could think. The anxiety stopped. In the weeks that followed, he was able to get more and more sleep. As I'm writing this testimonial 18 months later, after completing articulation and elucidation, he is pain-free. He sleeps like a log at night. He works out 3 days a week at the gym. While going through the DNA activation, we continued exploring ways to heal the physical body. There are many things that helped the detoxification process, and some that didn't. In the end, many things contributed to my husband's recovery. Potentiation, however, in my mind, truly commenced the healing journey as well as provided a timeline that brought us both back from darkness. E.K. Kumwela, Hawaii. No more rash. Up until the potentiation session, I had been struggling with the most vile and crazy-making rash. The only thing that would relieve me of the severe discomfort was an over-the-counter antihistamine that left me feeling lousier than I did with just the rash. After the session, I just knew that I could stop taking the drugs, so I went to bed drug-free for the first time in months. I woke up feeling refreshed with no itching at all. If this is all I have to look forward to, it would be enough. I know this is just the beginning though. DP, New York, New York. Physical improvement at an advanced age. My daughter was so pleased with her potentiation results, I had to try it. I had severe food allergies that had escalated through the years to the point where I could barely eat anything without discomfort. Within the first month after potentiation, I found myself able to add more foods to my diet. It has now been 2 months since my session, and I feel I've improved at least 70%. I'm 82 years old, and to see my health improve so fast is thrilling. L.H. Silva, North Carolina. Removing emotional and mental blockages. Fascinatingly, potentiation helped me overcome my eye disease, though indirectly. In a subtle but extremely important way, this work encouraged me to move beyond my duality and its resultant blockage where the Western medical approach to this particular issue was concerned. Also, I believe that the enlivening process I experienced as source energy tracking through my energy body after potentiation helped prepare me on many levels to accept perfect success from my eye operation when I finally got around to it. I most highly recommend potentiation as well as the rest of the Regenetics Method to anyone who is looking for beneficial change in a variety of areas related to physical disease or pain, including discomfort and issues rooted in emotional or mental blockages. If you wish to have a greater conscious experience of yourself as a spiritual physical being, the Regenetics Method is definitely for you. DM, Montreal, Canada. Skin healing and personal empowerment. The past 5 months since my potentiation have been amazing. What a process you have developed. I noticed the following. I went on a huge house cleaning binge. I was tired, but somehow had this incredible energy to clean everything in sight, like never before. I couldn't believe it. Later, a bump that I had above my eyebrow got itchy and burst open. I'd had it for over 15 years and thought it was just a part of me, but then it completely disappeared, healing without any scarring in just 3 days. Wow. I've also noticed that I have better tolerance for foods. My daughter has also greatly improved on the foods she can tolerate and her digestion. Finally, I've had an inner confidence that I never had before, and am starting a private practice after hating my office job for many years. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the process to see where this will lead me. AC, Ontario, Canada. Spontaneous disappearance of food allergies. I consider myself very open-minded and accept the power of spirit to heal physical and mental imbalances. Yet last year when I was suddenly confronted with severe food and chemical allergies after a trip to Haiti, I felt humbled by limitations I'd never personally experienced. A yoga and meditation practitioner for many years, I thought I was immune to chronic physical ailments. A close friend recommended potentiation, and since I'd noticed significant improvements in her, I decided to try it. I prepared myself mentally for a week, drawing on my own knowledge of the power of intention to heal. My potentiation session itself wasn't at first very different from deep meditation. Soon, however, the results were astonishing. In less than 2 days I felt my allergies completely leave my body, as well as mucus-forming food intolerances to wheat and dairy that had plagued me since childhood. I could eat anything, though I'm still vegetarian for moral reasons, and could finally breathe through my nose again. I strongly recommend this healing process, but be very pure and strong in your intention as to why you're potentiating. Don't forget it's your higher mind you're connecting with, and that healing starts in you. Dr. Marshall, North Carolina. Total life transformation. In 2000 I crashed. Suddenly I was having serious trouble sleeping, became severely bloated, had major digestive discomfort and distress, felt I would die each month before my period, experienced anxiety, depression, brain fog, malaise, fatigue, aching muscles, fear, and despair. I experimented with practically every diet known to humankind, in addition to energy work, acupuncture, allergy elimination techniques, EFT, hardcore supplementation, sauna therapy, Reiki, electrical cellular stimulation, IV therapy, reflexology, psychic detox techniques, acupressure techniques for emotional release, massage, heavy metal detox, German machinery, microscopy, and others. Although some alleviated my symptoms, I still did not feel a fundamental shift. One morning at 4 a.m., I was guided to do internet research and found a commentary on a bulletin board about someone's boyfriend who had taken Potentiation and healed his leaky gut syndrome. Thinking Potentiation was a bottle of homeopathic drops, I contacted Saul and Lee and began my journey through the Regenetics Method. The level of neurotoxicity I carried was quite high, and Potentiation was the perfect avenue for its departure from my body. The process was intense at times, but I could gradually feel a lifting of the sludge and knew I was headed for a life-affirming existence after years of extreme discomfort. This technique has helped transform my life beyond anything I could have imagined. Dallas, Texas. Unity Consciousness. Potentiation activated my great awakening to self-realization, galactic, universal, multi-universal, and cosmic consciousness and oneness with life. J.W. Wales, United Kingdom. About the author. A longtime researcher of shamanism and spirituality, Saul Luckman is an iconoclastic psychonaut devoted to exploring and exposing the truth about human history and potential, wherever that might lead. His latest novel, Kali the Destroyer, a page-turner of a sci-fi tale set in an Orwellian future seated in the dystopian present that radically rewrites Gnosticism as well as the origins of the Earth and humanity, won a whopping 8 literary awards. His previous novel, the multi-award-winning Snooze, A Story of Awakening, was a deep dive into Hindu mysticism, lucid dreaming, parallel universes, and cryptozoology, described by NEXUS Magazine as superlative fiction. In his 2 international best-selling nonfiction books on the revolutionary healing science, NEXUS Magazine, of his own unique form of sound healing, the Regenetics Method, Luckman examined the critical role played by DNA and consciousness in healing, transformation, and evolution. Of his multi-award-winning satirical lexicon, The Angel's Dictionary, readers' favorite remarked that he picked up where writers like Mark Twain and Ambrose Bierce had left off. More recently, Musings from a Small Island combines fascinating memoir, hilarious comedy, and inspirational philosophy in a stunningly self-illustrated coffee table book any low-country lover or contemporary art aficionado would be proud to display. To learn more about Saul Luckman's writing and artwork, subscribe to his newsletter and enjoy his new exclusive ebook, The World Cult and You, Your Place in It and Your Way Out of It. Visit saulluckman.substack.com.